And welcome to For You Models. This particular build we're going to be tackling is Revell's 132nd new tool. This is the ME262 B1U1 Night Fighter version. As I said, total new tooling on this one. We have reviewed it. You can go off and see that one on the For You Models site right now. Plan with this one, something a little bit different, something we want to get our teeth into. We're taking a Revell kit, and let's face it, we'll be honest here, Revell kits aren't exactly going to be the AAA ones full of detail and everything else like that. But what they are is always a good quality kit right the way through, but lacking in detail. So what we're going to do is upgrade a few little areas. To start with, inside the cockpit, we're going to replace it with a colour photo etch set. Again, it's one of those things. I think with the cockpit, because it's going to be closed and things like that, you're not going to see too much detail in there. So I think a good way of just livening everything up, giving a good level of detail, is to go in there with a colour photo etch set. Okay. Then to liven up the seats and just to make them a little bit more better, we're going to be using the steel Seatbelts by Eddard. Okay. Now I haven't used those before, so it's the first time for me. Then obviously generally just to liven everything up a little bit all over it, we have got down here the Ames set. Basically it's a photo etch extension set, so it gives us things, some nice details around there, around the engine area, things like that. Pretty much very, very nice, a very, very thin photo etch set for it, so we're looking forward to using that one. And then again, the ME262, it's got quite big gear, so let's make the best of it. So down there we've got a Brazin set with beautifully detailed tyres, hubs and everything, just to liven up the undercarriage in general and give it a far nicer look with it. We've got some nice reference books down in here, so we've actually got the 4+ publication of the ME262, which has our particular variant in here. Now with this one we're going to be doing quite a few different little techniques all the way over it. Not only are we going to be tackling a sort of mediocre kit, it should go together okay, but let's face it, we're not expecting perfect joins right the way through, so there'll be a little bit of sanding and filling down there, a little bit of riveting. Okay, I do like my riveting work and everything else, but mainly this one is going to be about the weathering effect with this one. I have got a couple of ideas. I do love the image that has come on the back of this book, which has a really worn down, torn one. Now some of this we've covered modelling before, it's pretty standard to put this type of scheme on, but I'm thinking about going just that little bit further perhaps. This has sort of got a winter camo effect right the way over this one, that's sort of worn down, sanded down in patches and things like that. I'm thinking about sort of trying to recreate this particular look here in this photo and actually then putting it down onto our model as well. So plenty of weathering during the later stages as we make our way through the entire build. Going to be a great build. I hope you're going to join me right the way through this particular one. So let's get on with it. Okay, so here we go. First off, obviously we've taken out all the parts and, to be honest, done my usual thing and I've put labels on them. It's not so bad with this particular kit because we haven't got a million sprues, but if you have got a lot of sprues, quick little tip, just pop a little bit of tape on, write the letter, contrast colour, it's a lot easier, and that way at a glance I can see what's going on. So what I tend to do is start at A sprue and then obviously the last letter in the alphabet down this end, and that way I've got a rough idea what it is, but that way you don't have to fish through sprues and everything else like that. So first thing we needed to do is really see how this is going to work out in contrast, or in conjunction I should say, with all the aftermarket bits we've got. So the first thing obviously is going to be the cockpit, so it tends to be where you start with aircraft, and we know we have got this gorgeous colour photo etch set just here which is going to go in there. So we've got the instructions out and we're having a look through here just to see exactly what we've got. So we're looking through and we know the instrument panel's got to be taken apart and sanded back, fair enough. We've got a couple of other little bulkhead ones down in here. We've got some instrumentation down in here. Side panels, pretty obvious that those were going to come out, and then how we're going to replace some of the surface details, give it a little bit more three-dimensional look down on there. I think we've got a gun sight just down here at the front. It's going to have a little bit of photo etch down there, and we're assuming this could be the radar box at the rear. And then obviously on the other side and some of the little areas. So really you get a feel on what needs to be painted first, how it needs to be painted, what needs to be sanded off, and really how you can progress the build just to push on a little bit without sort of getting a little bit sort of foul of things and ended up having things you need to stick things on or sand things off. So you're all ready. So down in here we've got the instrument panel, so we've sanded that beautifully off. That is ready for obviously the colour one to go on there. We've got this little box which is the one that fits on the side down in here, which is this little guy here, which is 136 on the B sprue. Again, the actual detail on this is very good. It'd just be a pain to paint it. So in some ways I was thinking, well, we just do it black and dry brush it, but actually you do come with a very nice couple of parts in here, which are these little white guys down here, which are going to go in there. So again, it was that thing of, right, okay, we get in here and we've had to take out that detail. Now the thing is, for that, to be honest, we used a chisel just to be able to physically get in amongst this. So by coming in with a little chisel like this, we could place this guy down, not chiseling it, but scraping it, okay? And then that way we can just make it exactly what we need. And then when we look at the depth, the actual thickness around here, it is about the same as a chisel width. So I'm hoping that way it will fit down in there very nicely. And again, it's a quick, easy way of adding detail. So we made our way through, and to be honest, we've done some of it I've done ahead, some of it we haven't. We've put together this guy down on here, all right, which makes us our cockpit section just like this. I've got to take the surface detail off, which I'll show you in a moment. We've also put the back bulkhead in, and we've put those arms in there because it's all going to be the same colour. Then we've moved down on part 3, which to be honest we've put together again. So we've just got the pedals down in there, the things like that, that's all in there ready to go. Okay, we haven't put them in because obviously things have got to be painted, we needed to sand off and stuff like that. Now some of the other little things we have done, we just pushed on, so we've got all the cockpit sort of sorted. So I've cut out all of these parts down in here, and one thing is that I found has first little problem, if you like, with the kit is this guy down on here. Now this is the rear cockpit, so what we've actually done, we've already sanded off the detail off the top panels here, and we've got this in, and what I was just about to do was glue this together so we can actually get it fitted to the rear bulkhead here, okay, and then we're in a situation where we could have basically pushed on and put it all together. But when you actually take these rear parts, okay, so down here, this is number, this is 138 on the starboard side, and when you take the panel, you come up to line these up as it says on the instructions, and you can see it wants to go on the inside and not the outside. So when you flip it over though, you can see, or hopefully you can see, we've actually got this little tab down in here. It shouldn't physically be there, it should not be in place, and if you follow the little line it's got, and then we're just going to pop this down in here and then cut this guy off, it should be more like that, okay? And then what we'll do, we just square that up with a bit of a sanding stick. Okay, it should be more like this with a step in it, and then that way it enables it to go around this framework, and then it sits on top perfectly. But again, it's a tiny little bit of flash because on the other side, as you can see, this one has got exactly the same thing as well. And it's these little things which actually are a bit of a pain with the Revell kits because you can never quite work out what is flash and what isn't, okay? So again, a quick little sand just to clean that up. And we'll check the other side now. And this should fit in. And it does now very, very nicely with no problem at all. But unfortunately, it is that thing. If you're not too sure about it and you don't know, you can fall foul of it. This is going to be a recurring theme right through the build. I'm going to warn you now. I haven't built this kit before, but this is a type of thing that Revell tends to throw at you. You can never quite tell, is that flash? Should it be there? Should it not? Trust your gut. At the end of the day, if you can see a genuine way to fix a problem, don't be too frightened to go in there with some tools and that. But a bit like measuring, okay, so measure twice, cut once, test fit twice, cut once as well. Because there'd be nothing worse if you suddenly slice that out and then you find out, oh, actually, it's me, it should be a little bit further up and it fits. So always make sure it is the last option, then get in there and cut it apart and everything else like that. So what we can do is, with these guys, we can actually get these glued in now. So we just take that, we'll take a little bit of our glue here. Okay, we're just going to run a little bit around the top just to get this in, and then we can glue that into place. And then, to be honest, what I'm going to do is just put a little bit more glue just down underneath here to make sure that's settled in. Now that is going to have put onto that a tiny piece of obviously colour photo etch. But the thing is, for painting point of view, obviously you need to paint everything first before you come in with your colour photo etch. So that way it's all going to blend in and be the same. So that's both of those done like that. And then I do believe these are then going to push into the rear of this. So I haven't test fitted this, so we're going to pop this in here for a test fit. That's not too bad. Bit of glue just down the sides, and then hopefully that will just push in. And again, the other thing with Revell kits is you tend to find that they can be a little bit sort of flashy and things like that. So what happens is that when you come to fit items in there, they don't quite go. But if you're using like a weld action glue, you can give it a little bit of a blob of it in there, like this, okay? And then what happens is that the glue will physically melt its way into the hole. So if it's not quite big enough, it enables it all to go in there and everything else like that. So again, we're just going to step this guy down in here. A little bit of work around there. And again, it's slightly rocking on the surface, so what we're going to do is just going to get in there and push it in. Okay, so that's those on. So what we've done really, we've put all this together in an aid to be able to go in there and physically paint the entire thing. So what we're going to do is the German interior colour. From our point of view, we're going to use Vallejo 055 for that, so we'll go in. So at the same time, we're going to spray the inside here. To be honest, we've got a couple of ejector pins. I don't think they're going to foul for anything we're thinking of, but before you go in here and painting, if you have got any, just sand them off. It stops dust getting in the inside. And the one that I did find when I test fitted it was this one up on the tail. You've got another ejector pin up here, and when we did a quick test fit of popping this little guy together, like so, we found that the tail just wouldn't go together at all, and that's because that ejector pin that was in there. So again, it's that thing, you've got it apart, it's easy to clean up, you can wash it if you need to or anything else, but the rest of these marks down in here I don't think are going to be a problem. But what we can actually do is paint all of this in the grey, everything to do with the cockpit completely in grey, and then what we can actually do is the inside down in here, so then we can get in there, put the colour photo etch on there, and we can actually start to install it in. But there's a few other bits and pieces we need to build before we get going with this, because it's all going to be the same colour. So we've got the radar gear down here at the back, so we want to take care of that. We've got these side parts for the actual internals as well. They need to be cleaned up and put in and painted. Seats, things like that, you can obviously add them a little bit afterwards, because obviously we're going to do harness work with those, so I wouldn't really worry about popping those in yet as you make your way through. But once we've got those all done and put together, we can actually get it painted, come back, install the parts into it, and then we can bring it all together. Okay, so what have we got down in here is the grey work. So what we're going to be doing is 055, which is the RLM internal grey colour on pretty much all the German stuff. Okay, we've cleaned up, taken care of all the parts. The only other thing we did, literally just down in here, we've taken off the surface detail off of these panels, which I must admit I forgot to do. So obviously that's all ready for the photo etch to be put on there. So we need them to all blend in and make our way through just like that. So we need a couple of clumps. Usual thing, if you're like me and you use a lot of different products, as in when you're using things like lacquers and all of those good things, you want to put through a little bit of Airbrush Cleaner first. Now the whole point of putting through the Airbrush Cleaner is it's going to lubricate the actual inside. I don't know if you can see down in there, but it's like a white chalkiness, and what happens is this has been stood around for, to be honest, probably about 4 or 5 days since I've last done any airbrushing, and it can cause all types of little problems. So what you want to do is just give it a little swill out completely, okay, blow it through and listen to your airbrush. If it's hissing and crackling, you know it's got stuff in there. If it's constant, you should be absolutely fine like that. But what you've done really is lubricated it and taken care of all the alcohol based stuff in there, so when you do come along with a softer acrylic, okay, a more like a water acrylic rather than these synthetic ones that you can get, but what will happen is it will hopefully give a nice feel to this. Now we're not going to need tons and tons in here, so what we need to do is like the inside and the outside work of the framework and stuff like that. Okay, so we check our flow, we're very happy. Okay, start off with quite a dusty coat. Okay, probably a bit heavy for what we need, but it'll do the job. Again, if you're a little bit worried about Vallejo paints, they tend to be a little bit softer perhaps than other people's, then you can obviously prime it. But to be honest, I think if you're nice gentle coats, you can pretty much put in a good colour with no worries at all. But I know a lot of people out there worry about the fragility of Vallejo paints. I've never been that worried about it. Okay, once you've got a paint down, a coat, good thick coat of paint right the way absolutely everywhere, then that way that will dry, it will self-level, and it'll give you something perhaps a little bit stronger than just a normal type of thin layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on its back over here, and we're going to repaint it in a moment and give it a secondary coat. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to, just a little bit worried about this not wanting to squeeze out the end. And to be honest with you, the only trouble with these types of pipettes, or these dropper ends I should say, is that they have a habit of clogging and making a mess of your airbrush. And to be honest, whilst I was always a fan, as a classic example you can see here, because if any part of that big nasty lump gets into your actual paintwork or into your colour cup, your airbrush is going to be horrendous and your paintwork will be as well. So I'm more inclined to physically pull the roof off and tip the entire bottle. Well, not the entire bottle, but a dribble of the contents into my colour cup. That way, if you pour it nice and slowly, you can see exactly what's coming out of it. You can see what's going into your actual colour cup. But don't forget, you know, this is one of those things, sort of do as I say, not as I do. Really what you should be doing is decanting it into a cup, checking it first, then putting it into your airbrush. But this isn't a pro job to all of this one. This is literally just one of those things of chucking it in. Okay, so again, dusty coat just to start with, which is always the secret to Vallejo. Okay, just want to give it a hint of. Okay, that's about all you want to do. Then on the others, so it's just a quarter pull on the trigger, lots of air, because all you're doing is just prepping the area. Okay, just like that. So we're just going to do that to all these parts. This is where some clamps come in handy. You can just grab them and then do your bit. Those clamps are pretty useless at that. We need strong pair. Okay, again, both sides on this one. Okay. Alright, so just stick that down there. And again, this is all done pretty much for speed. We'll be doing a slightly nicer job, shall we say, just a little bit afterwards. Dusty coat. It's quite a high air pressure through this. I'm never that worried about it. Okay, yeah, we're going to grab this guy. Can we get in there? No, probably not. Alright, so we'll grab this from the side and reposition afterwards. The back I'm not sure of, so I don't know why I'm doing it, but you never know. Okay, so we'll just stick that against there. Now these little guys down in here, we can hand paint on the rear. This is really for the edges, just so it all matches up. Again, I'm going to spray this just in one, purely because we're going to do other things with this, okay? So what you're doing is just making sure the edges are all done, so when you're looking at it, that it is okay. And then obviously with the back parts we can come in and sort those out, and then down in here we've got various little items which, to be honest, a lot of these we can probably hand paint in. A little bit of spitting with the paint, you see nothing's really coming out, it's probably blocking in and also, so we're just going to pump the trigger. There we go, we're back in business. Again, this is the trouble with acrylics. I haven't sprayed with acrylics for, well, months. Probably more than months, to be honest, with everything. Close enough, okay. But when you're using lacquers, you just don't get spitting, stopping and starting and all those problems you can get, because the paint consistency is the same all the way through. And the trouble with acrylic, you tend to get fat areas and then you get thin areas of paint, and you know what can happen is you'll get in this trouble now where the airbrush is just stopping and starting and not wanting to flow, and it's why I've really gone off acrylics in the last few months. So what I'm going to do is we're going to grab a little bit of X20A. This is Tamiya thinners. We're just going to add a bit to the mix. Okay, we're going to mix the paint. This is enough just to thin it, just a little bit, just to help with the flow. And then at the same time we're going to grab a bit and we're just going to brush it round on the needle. And this should be enough to encourage it out and then to get it to go. So just clean off that needle. And all it is the bit in the needle down by the nozzle is really thick. So we need to pump the trigger, and this is why theoretically, there we go, you should always paint, just go straight into a colour cup, a little tiny little guy like this. Check your paint, make sure it's all nice before you ever commit to your model. There we go, it's finally through. So you can see the huge difference there. Okay, just like that. And then let's grab this guy. We think we can probably clamp him in here. So again, all the angles, because you're not sure what's going to show through on the floor, what's going to show through on the roof, all these things. Okay, so it's very thin now, or thinner than really what you would desire, but it's not a problem. So what we'll do, let that dry, we'll come back, we'll give it a second coat, so forth and so on. Okay, now getting a little bit in here. So what we're going to do is hit the old extractors, both extractors. Okay, and we're just going to put in the proper thicker layers now. And to be honest, we're not messing around, we're just putting down a decent thick coat of paint just like that, okay? This guy. We're just deliberately going too far everywhere, just so we've got good coverage. Okay. And then we can come back to some of these other little guys. Grab it in a different area. Just a little bit lighter. Less paint means we can get a lot closer. Okay, so the guy there. Just refill. Tiny drop of X28. Bit of a mix in that cup. Go again. Okay, so we painted up the cockpit, as you've just seen. Now we're going in with a photo etch. Now we've covered this in depth, in detail, warts and all and everything on the FW190 video build. So you can go off and have a look at that one if you want to see exactly how this works. So what I'm going to do is a quick recap of it and show specific problems with this particular kit and, well, the reasons I think behind it. So usual thing, we've basically gone round and we've painted the colour, as you can see, which is pretty much spot on to what we want. And we've started sticking on the actual colour photo etch, which to be honest is lovely. Now there's lots of little sticks and bits to go on this, but we're going to put all of that in afterwards, because at the moment, to be honest, being klutz, I will just knock them off and that'll be the end of it. So literally, as you go making your way around here, we've got the two side ones going on and we've got the rear ones. Now the thing is, we have this same problem with this side part not working because of this back frame just down the back here. Now again, I am not 100% sure what is going on, but when I did a little bit of test fitting with the side part, which fits under here, which actually is quite a nice part, this all fits in beautifully and it's all okay. So I'm assuming this side frame is correct, but just as we found with the front half, you grab the said little piece of photo etch. One thing to note actually about this photo etch, it's not self-adhesive, which I'm not a fan of the self-adhesive one anyway because it tends to stick, but we got exactly the same thing and it doesn't fit in there, it just hangs out and it sticks out. So what we need to do is come in and then obviously cut it again just the same way as we did with the bottom. So I'm assuming that what Edard have done is just recreate what was there before. Okay, so what you can actually do, you can just pop along like this, and then the way I did it, okay, admittedly I did do it off camera, we just made a little tiny depression and a nick just in the part, which you can probably see better on the underside. So that's our key, that's how far we've got to go. So then literally we just come in with our scissors and then we just cut it out. Okay. I think I've gone just a little bit too far there, but to be honest, see, trusty orange scissors. Let's try that again. See, trusty orange scissors, and they failed me for once. So what we'll do is we're just going to play safe here, because we don't really want to bend the photo etch. So actually I was wondering if we can get a second cut. It's more important that we don't get it peel, because the thing is, if it peels, that's when we'll have troubles. There we go, we got it that time. Okay, so then what we can do is a little bit of a wiggle just to get this guy off. Being photo etch, it's easier just to wiggle it than it is to try and cut it, and there we go, it falls away. So we've got a tiny little lift on one corner, so you could use your bending pliers and all your rest of it, or you can just come in there with a normal pair of things. There we go, so that takes care of that. It's amazing, you do the first one, fits a dream. Do the second one and show you guys, and it's all over the place. So we just check our sizing is correct. So we want that now to fit in there and to saddle up and go straight forward to back. Got a little bit, to be honest, needs to come off that rear corner because it is tapering in just a little bit as we thought. So I'm just going to nick another little corner out. And this is the thing with photo etch, if you have got a good pair of scissors, and to be honest my orange scissors are great for this type of thing, you don't have any problem. But what you're trying to do is make sure it lines up and you don't have any overhang, and to be honest that's really nice. So, and because it is not adhesive, we need a bit of super glue. Don't be frightened of using the super glue, because what happens is, being acrylic, it will suck the Jesus out of this. So if you haven't got enough on, you end up with it pinging off later on. Okay, so we get that on nicely like that, and then we're going to stick it in that rear, then to the front. We're just making sure it all lines up. Now if you're using a medium viscosity, as in thickness, runniness, okay, as we've done there, you'll have a little bit of slip time, because what happens is this will physically slip on the surface. You can position it and you'll be good to go. But you can see that is in there perfectly now with snipping out that corner, and actually it butts up beautifully in that corner as well. Okay, so then when you have both of them, you will be in a situation where these, I don't remember which way around it goes like this. Okay, we go one each side, and obviously we're going to paint and weather and fully detail both of these down in here, but it does give you an interior tub fitted out actually very, very nicely. Okay, so when this all goes in, I don't think we'll have any problems at all. Alright, so that's those in, but that's a little bit later, because all we're going to do is dry brush and wash the inside of these, and to be honest we have got some little decals and various things to go on that as well. Okay, but that gives you an idea of how we're starting. So same thing again on the cockpit face. So this one here is the one that has dials showing through and all the rest of it. So what I'm inclined to do is not use super glue on this, because we want that glass dial look. So again, I'll come in with a little bit of a PVA glue, and to be honest we'll go back to old favourite of crystal clear. Okay, so we just pull up. Again, make it generous, don't scrimp on it, because there's really no need, but you just don't want to go too far, but just make sure you're covering everything, because what happens is when it squirts out the side, you can grab a little bit and on the end there, just like that. And then what I want to do is borrow these just to hold it so you guys can see. So again, we're popping this over, and today, to be honest, is a lovely warm day, so this isn't going to take long. So once it's down on there like that, same thing as we've done before. Give it a nudge, give it a squeeze, and make it all pop out. Okay, just like that. Then we're going to wipe off the excess. Okay, we've got another one just for this side. You could obviously go in and give a blob afterwards, but I don't know, I just find it a little bit more realistic. And again, making sure the sides are lined up and the bottom. And then once it's in there, you can take a cotton bud and just wipe it around the outside. And what this enables this to do is it will seal up the edge. If you've got like laminations down in here, this, to be honest, isn't too bad. But sometimes if you've got multiple layers of it everywhere, you'll cause a problem. So usual thing, we'll let that dry off. Now normally you'd let this top one keep drying off, but to be honest, we're just going to pop ahead just down in there, so it's nice. And here's this thing, it would just give it a nicer glass look to the dials. But as I said, you could, if you wanted to, obviously go in there with a drop of clear or something else. Okay, so we just pop him on the top, grab our tweezers, pushing down, and then once it's pushed down a little bit you can position. Okay, and then we'll just leave that to dry off. Okay, once it's dried off it can be fitted and gone in. We've done a couple of other things as well. This guy here was a particular nightmare, purely because you have to slide it over the boxes to put over, and obviously it scratches all the paint off. There's a few more to go in there, but this is the lower section for the actual radar gear in the rear, and we've got the, obviously I think this is the radio equipment for the rear, that one's been done as well. And then down in here we've still got to fit on here the little stripy ones, which to be honest, these three guys here, which look like circuit breakers or something to me, which actually go down, or the little switches down in here for the actual side cockpit wall. There's various bezels and dials and various bits that are going to liven this up. We've got obviously little handles down here, little lollipop sticks and things, which are going to be the actual flight engine controllers and stuff, which may look a little bit, you're thinking, well, that's not brilliant, but when you look at the real thing, you can see it's pretty basic in there. There isn't a great deal, as you can see, going on in this cockpit. You know, this is the one we're just recreating at the moment. You can see the colour one there. It isn't much of it. Like here, I thought, well, what's going on? Because it's blank on ours, as you can see. But actually, no, there's nothing going on. You can see the pedals as well, the way they fit in here and various things. This guy over here, the trouble is because they're really worn and that, it's not really a true representation. This guy down in here, you can see how clean, uncluttered, there isn't many dials and switches going down on here. And there's a beautiful one of the cockpit as well. Feel free to pause this at any point for your references. Okay, and as you can see, it's got obviously the two engine management dials on this side, engines and everything else, and then you've got your basic 6, okay, in there. So there's not a great deal going on in amongst all of this work down in here. There is a couple more bits of photo etch that are going to go onto this guy. Looking at this one as you make your way through. So where is it? That's those ones there. That's the other instrument panel. We've got another little one that's going to go in at the top. That's the other one with the other little placards and various things going on down there. I'm sure we had one there. There we go. This one down in here is something we started to work on. To be honest, it's all still very much a loose fit. But down here it needs to be painted. But these 4 ones here, you've actually got 4 little placards which are going to go to the front of all of this as well, and really that's all we're going to be using. Same thing, we've got the seats. To be honest, we're working on those at the moment, so we'll do those a little bit later because they'll be a drop-in fit. We've got these steel seat belts going in too, obviously, because we've got 2 seats, front and rear. Okay, so we get those fitted out and put in. So what I'm going to do, we're going to let that dry nice and safely just out the way, okay, and then we're going to get these other bits all glued in, ready to go, and then we can think about popping it all together, getting that sort of internal stuff going with it. Again, I might not even put these little latches and various bits on until right at the end, purely because I might knock them off, and then we can actually push through with the build, working on the front gun sections, all the little subsections, and start to get it together.